Recording is in progress. Hello and welcome, everybody. Daryl Snyder R.C. Fischer. Welcome to the Sportstopia. R.C. Fischer's picks from somewhere near his back pocket podcast. This is the fourth weekend. I think we haven't come to a conclusion. He says that's near his wallet because there's a lot of green lettuce in his wallet, or there's a lot of lettuce we're going to bring into his wallet. And,
Also to be known as "Come Share the $1 Million with Us"
there you go. I like
podcast,
that one too. Tonight, though, it's a $500,000. So
or stop
I
sharing it with
positioned the
us.
lineups to get to that million. So we get first, second, third, fourth, and fifth, and then we share the rest with everybody else that
That's fine.
happens to
Yeah.
try to compete.
Yeah. Also, the name could be "Stop Sharing the $1 Million with Us."
Yeah, I've tied a couple in second on the London game. So disappointed that Monday I made a mistake. Never make it again. I faded the Seahawks defense in the captain. I played them in the flex, and they only had like 11 sacks, interception. They scored like 30 some points. So never again will I fade a defense in the captain, except for tonight, the Bear defense. But I'll let you. They have a total of two sacks the whole game, and I read an article this morning when I woke up, and it said the Bears are determined to get a sack tonight. So it could be a game-changing phenomenon. But hey, rcffmetrics.com. Let me tell people how they can find you. It's FF for fantasy football metrics. You've been in the industry a long time, full-time for 10 years plus, and you can find him on Twitter. You can find him on his website. He spends a lot of time studying film, much more than me. The film I study is the game live. You actually study after the game. So I'll let you briefly talk about that, and then we're going to dive into this. I'd call it probably on a scale of 1 to 10, the most exciting games that they could have on Amazon Prime. Closer to a 1, but anyways, go ahead. Introduce yourself.
Yes, it is RC from fantasyfootballmetrics.com, the watcher of all live football, followed by the watcher and studier of all of the tape during the week, and studier of the data analysis and the output trends and the lack of sleep person in the second half of the calendar year. Ready to talk about all that I know. I don't know what's going on in the world. I don't know if we're on the brink of war or economic collapse, or who's running for president, or if there was a natural disaster somewhere. I do know a lot about the Bears and the Commanders.
You know, I do know too that yesterday we had an emergency broadcast system alert that I didn't know, and it came across, and it was screaming at me, and this is a test, only a test. In case it was an actual emergency, you'd be, informed to go to in it anyways. But that's how I'm like you. The news I watch has to be relevant to the sporting event of the day, because that's all that really matters. Everything else is out of our control. So RC is with FF Metrics. I did a demo this morning on the Contrarian Edge Optimizer, and you are one of the daily projection providers, and we're very excited about having you there. So you can find him in the Optimizer as well, and we're excited. Let's dig right in. It's a Bears Commanders game. The Bears, they showed signs of life last week. Fields for a whole, I think they had a 21-3 lead in the first half. They came out 28-3, and then the Bears turned into the Bears. Fields turned into Fields. The Commanders on the opposite end of the spectrum, they went against toe-to-toe with the Eagles, which surprised me. You're the guru. That's what I observed from my point of view. What did you see with those two games, last game, and then I'll let you shift into what you think about tonight.
I'll start with the Commanders first. They could have won. They could have and should have won that game against the Eagles, but got to match that up against the context of if you think that the Eagles, because they're 4-0 and defending Super Bowl champs, are something special, then your gauges are off. So it's Washington almost beating them or should have beat them is probably not as impressive as it seems. It's a good thing, and the Eagles are a good team. They are definitely not a great team. They're headed towards mediocre more than they are great this year.
I will put in a warning because our Ed Williams, who's our director at Sportstopia, he is a rabid Eagle fan. So I know as he's watching this already, he's saying no, the Eagle. But anyway,
He's nodding
we
his head in agreement because he's a fan and he sees it, and he's probably like, I have no idea how we're 4-0. I come to speak the
He
truth.
did give me a hand across the brow. Whew, after the Eagles won that, so I'm just throwing that.
The
Ed's watching
Eagles,
this, and I know what he's thinking. He's like, "We're going to be elite," whether it's "gonna be" versus "are." But go ahead, RC.
everything I would need to know about Ed is if I said, or when I say the Eagles are lucky they're not like 1-3. If he goes, I know, then I know he knows what he's talking about. If he goes, oh, you're crazy, then he's a
No,
crazy Philly
I'm sure
fan.
he would agree with you. Yeah, go ahead.
But I say that for the context of that's not that it's not as impressive as it seems with that backdrop. Washington is a very mediocre team. They're not in the bottom tier. They're definitely not in the top tier. They're going to be capable of winning games they shouldn't, losing games that they should win, which makes it a little shaky for tonight. They're a bit of a wild card with Sam Howell playing good football. He's not to be necessarily taken lightly, but he's also not up with the elites. So Washington's still a bit of a mystery to me what team will ever show up from one game to the next. The Bears, on the other hand, are definitely the worst team in the league. If they're not the worst team in the league, it's Denver. So who they just played, and just because Denver won doesn't really mean much. They're both so incredibly awful that they're just that's when I consider what Chicago's going to do or be right now, it's that they're probably going to be really bad. And and me saying Denver is I think the Bears are probably the worst team in football. Denver is super close, but everybody that's taking advantage of Denver now, like Miami did, and then we see what Miami did before Denver and after Denver was mediocrity, but all anybody was going to remember is 70 points against Denver. The fact that the Bears got out to a 28-7 lead or whatever it was on Denver shows you how horrible Denver is. The fact that Denver was able to come back on Chicago shows you how horrible Chicago is. So all fantasy statistics against Denver or Chicago almost have to be thrown out the window because they're literally like not playing a defense or a team at all. At least Denver has Russell Wilson, who's not great anymore, but he's okay. Justin Fields is not good unless he's running, and he hasn't been running. And his claim to fame is going to be he beat up on Denver, but we have to throw that out. I throw that out and I can look at what he's done the rest of the way, and it's been terrible. So I'm going to assume we're going to see more likely see terrible Justin Fields taking on random okay Washington. And if I was setting a meter, if I or a pie chart, I would say there's 70% likely Washington throws the ball all over the Bears, because part of the Bears' problem, if the Bears were at full strength, they might not be the worst team in the league. It would definitely be Denver. But the Bears have missing offensive linemen. Their whole secondary's out. I mean, they've got problem after problem after problem, plus all of the coaching and off field, and Fields is a lower tier quarterback. So they've got all these issues. So I would say 70% likely Washington has an air raid and crushes the Bears tonight. 30% chance that this is just a game kind of like the Eagles Washington was, where it's back and forth, touchdown, touchdown. Neither team can stop each other. The Bears rally up whatever they got left in them. Justin Fields decides he's going to run for the first time this year on purpose as a weapon, and he rushes for over 100+ yards on national television to try to get them a win, just because they're getting crucified in the local media and national media. But the more likely outcome is, when the Bears have not played the Broncos, they've been terrible,
Well,
and
so
Justin Fields hasn't
let
been
me get,
big.
yeah, let me get clarity, because I think you're saying 70% Washington air raid, attack 30%,
Just
Bears have a
30%
chance.
Justin Fields wins the
Right,
game.
right. Is
Nobody
there
else.
both of those that you're talking, is there, and the reason I asked, I made a mistake on fading the Seattle defense Monday, which cost me in the captain. I put them in the flex, and I think they set an all-time record. If not, it was close, 10 or 11 sacks, and they had a, pick six. And tonight, and I said after that, I'll make a rule, I'll never fade a defense and a captain, even if I'm playing a few. But is there any possible way the Bear defense shows up tonight against Washington? Like zero, right? Like I'm saying
Yeah,
zero.
yeah. Beyond pure, I mean, you never know. Like that Browns Steelers Monday night game, when it started with a ball jumping off of the receiver's hands that was
Right.
wide open, had a ball thrown to him. He can't catch it. It pops up into the air right into an oncoming defensive player who just snatches it and races, because there's nobody in front of him, races in for a touchdown. I mean, whatever that probability is, that's the probability the Bears have for a defensive anything
Good point,
tonight.
but is there in fantasy they start out with 10 points, and they get points for sacks, they get one, interceptions two, pick six, or scoop and score six. But as they give up points, it goes down. Is there any possible way that they shut out Washington? Is there
I
any
don't
possible way they only give up 10 points to Washington?
I don't think so.
Okay,
I
so
think
that's
I
what
don't even know if they can hold Washington to 10 points in the first quarter.
exactly. That's the way I'm thinking, but
And
I wanted to
I'm not.
align it with the guru. Let me turn it around, then I'll let you go. I won't interrupt you on the
Yep.
rest of where you're going currently, but on the other side of the ball, Washington's defense. Is it possible Washington shuts out the Bears totally?
That's definitely the more likely possibility.
Okay, so, and I did put Washington in captain for a few, because I didn't want to have deja vu, toss and turn all night going, out of 150 lineups, how could I not at least play a few Washington? So go ahead, continue, but I'm on path with you.
Washington's going to score over 30 in this game. The question is, where are the Bears going to wind up? Probably in the 20s, 20 range, or 20s. If the Commanders defense is on fire, they'll be around 20. If the Commanders defense acts like the Commanders defense has been, then there's going to be some big plays that they let happen, and it's going to be like 35-31 type of game. There's going to be there's the most likely scenario is there's going to be a lot of fantasy scoring in this. And that's going to be hard to predict, because both defenses are so susceptible in the passing game, and their quarterbacks will take whatever's there. They're not necessarily going to, well, the Bears are going to throw everything to DJ Moore, but within that, somebody will slip out. There will be probably two wide receivers in this game that score a touchdown, get a touchdown catch that you go, who, what, how did that happen? That's what I think this game is going to be tonight.
I like that. Yeah. I mean, that's what we look for in these showdowns is everybody's going to jam. Probably Howell for the reasons you said. They're going to jab Justin because he can, with his legs, he take off and house one from 60 yards out, right? And
I
then you
think you got to
have,
have both in a lineup tonight.
yeah, yeah. I'm not fading. I'm 100% not fading either one of those guys. I really like Brian Robinson. We'll talk about that. I like, as you said, Komet I looked at, and then there's a stat on the tight ends Washington played. They look really good against tight ends, so I want less
Yeah.
on Komet that I thought. But comment on you talked about get a little more in depth on what the Bears are missing secondary wise. You said that, but what's their defense looking like against Washington right now?
It is not good. The Bears actually do a decent job against the run. So Brian Robinson will be all around touchdowns this game, I'm sure, because Washington's going to be able to move the ball, and all it takes is a play down to the 1-2 yard line, and they run it in. But the Bears are top 10 defense against the run yards per carry wise, which surprised me when I was looking at it. It's the kind of the only one of the only stats where either of these defenses has anything great besides Washington's propensity to hold the tight ends out so far this season.
So
So
they're top 10 against the run. You say the Bears?
top 10 yards per carry allowed to the opponent. I think they're giving up a decent amount of yards, but the efficiency of teams running at them is not great. Where their passing defense is all near the bottom five and everything. So Washington has to be and the Bears are missing several uh, secondary players. They can't get to the quarterback. They're just a sieve in the passing game. So Washington has to be going into this going, we're going to throw the ball and we're going to throw it and throw it and throw it and keep throwing it. So I would be with all of the passing game on the Washington side versus going too heavy on the run game side. But Brian Robinson could score 3 touchdowns. He could rush for 40 yards on 17 carries, but have 3 rushing touchdowns. So it's not like he's a nobody, but this is going to be an air raid attempt and probably success by Washington.
I like that. What do you think about Gibson? He's more of a kind of a out of the flat, right? Out into the flat backfield, catch a path, but
Yeah,
receiver, running back.
when they're going in, but he hasn't done much. He comes in on third downs. He has some series to himself and gets some touches. He's a total wild card. I don't see anything. I don't see any trends or anything developing with him where he's some sneaky play. If this game got way out of hand, like Washington gets up by, you know, 20 plus in the fourth quarter, and you're going, oh, they might start, letting some of the backups play in this. That Gibson wouldn't be I don't think Gibson would be a part of that. I think they would pull Gibson and pull Robinson and go to whoever is the active third running back, which could be Chris Rodriguez, but he's been sick and he's questionable. So if he's out, it would be Derek Gore as the third running back. That would probably just bleed out the fourth quarter if it's a blowout. And then if it's a game, Washington in all of their games has been in games with the exception of the Buffalo blowout, and Gibson really hasn't been a big part of anything. So he could randomly score a touchdown just because he's on the field. He's on the field as much as Brian Robinson is, but when Brian Robinson's playing, he's part of the offense. When Gibson's playing, he's not really he's not a nobody, but I don't see any strong trends heading his way besides a random event that could happen.
So that being said, Bears, talking about their defensive efficiencies and where they are. I mean, I like McLaren a lot tonight, especially if it's air raid. To me, he's an elite receiver on the edge of being elite. Dotson getting healthy. I mean, both those guys in the red zone, I'm going to have a lot of. Any reasons I shouldn't? You like those guys or?
McLaurin is definitely the guy that has become the number one. I mean, this is Hal's first real year at quarterback. I was wondering if he was going to lean a little more on Jahan Dotson and had more trouble with McLaurin because McLaurin's a downfield receiver and it's asking a lot for Howell to throw downfield as a rookie behind a bad offensive line. That really hasn't been the case. Howell has shown a toughness and a willingness to hang in the pocket. He's making it work with McLaurin. This is the perfect storm situation for McLaurin to have a big game. But the other guys, I would say that the number two most likely to be thrown to is Curtis Samuel, but that's usually ends up being a random event. Curtis Samuel has been more integral in the offense than Dotson has, but it'll only take one play on Dotson and he could make the night. Logan Thomas will get his share of catches, but the big plays and the big yards are going to come from the three receivers. Dotson's probably lying in the weeds, waiting to have a big game, since he really hasn't had one this year. He's had some close moments. He's had some almost moments. So he would be the one that would be this if there's such a thing as a sneaky of the three. Then if the game starts getting out of hand, I could see them starting to rotate in. They play their fourth and fifth receivers a pretty decent amount the last 2 weeks. I think A, because there was a lot of snaps last week, and then B, they got blown out in Buffalo the week before. So when they have the luxury of pulling some of the receivers, De'Ami Brown is always a threat to hit a home run ball. If this game gets out of hand, he's about due to get a touchdown. He and Sam Howell are connected from college. I can see it getting at it right now. They're all playing for their lives. So when it's a game, I don't think Howell's going to get too cute trying to force anything to De'Ami. But if the game gets out of hand, then we could see him try to get his buddy a big play or a touchdown.
I definitely have him in play. I saw that he could be what we said. Other side of the ball, Washington, let's stay on that. We are on the Washington side offensively. So we talked about tight end. I like Thomas. Bates is the other guy. He could be one of those. It's always in these type showdowns. It's a tight end two, sometimes a tight end three, more of a two. The wide receiver four. You talked about Brown. Probably where I'd put him with Samuel Thomas. Samuel has that out of the backfield jet sweep that I think he pulled off against Philly or close to, right? So he's definitely someone that's not as under the radar. What do you think? Any chance of a Bates? Or there's another guy, isn't there, a tight end three that sometimes in play? Or
Yeah, they have a younger tight end, second year tight end, Cole Turner, who's like Logan Thomas. If the game gets out of hand, then we'll see some Cole Turner in there. But this strikes me as if this game goes where Washington can pretty much do what it wants on offense, that doesn't mean that the Bears won't do that back to them and it'll just be a constant chase. But this should be the type of game where it's such a weak opponent for Washington in the passing game that they don't have to get clever with, oh, John Bates, nobody saw that coming. He faked the block and was left all alone because nobody was covering him. So it was the crafty play because the defense was over covering all the other options. And wow, look at Bates snuck out. What a great play call. They're not
You
going to
got to be
need to
able to
do that.
cover to have
They're,
that play be effective.
well, well,
Right.
and well,
It's
within
like, oh
that,
wait, why do I want to do that play when
yeah,
our guy's wide open?
yeah, they can't cover the regular stuff. So Washington won't have to go to as much clever playbook calls because they're just going to be able to take their normal what they want to do and they're going to ram that right at the Bears without much resistance. So I don't think they're going to have to get cute with Bates or um, might not even see after the first series, might not even see Curtis Samuel get really clever touches just because they're just going to do whatever they want all game. It's a televised game. It's a Thursday night game. So in the first series or two, you'll see whatever the offensive coordinator cooked up to be a tricky, slippery play. And then after the first or second series, then they'll slide right into their normal flow of things.
It's a prime game. Well, let's flip to the other side of the ball. We got the Bears. Talked about Fields. Obviously, he can light it up with his legs. Obviously, last year, not so much this year. His best game, I think he had completed. They were cutting. I watched NFL Red Zone, and they were like talking about 10 for 10, 11 for 11, 12 for 12 or something. He was passing like he's never passed. So that will get, but again, it was Denver.
Because of
Yeah.
Denver. I mean, that is so key. That's so key for playing DFS games on Sunday for what's about to happen with the Jets. You can literally do whatever you want against Denver. So you have to throw that out. If you throw that out, then there's been 4 cards dealt this season, 4 games played, and 3 of the cards have been crap with Justin Fields and him not running. The 4th was an ace, but that was because Denver took it out of their sleeve and handed it to Chicago. So if you throw that out, the Bears have just put garbage up for the first 3 weeks. And within that, Justin Fields hasn't run for 4 weeks. So I'm going to assume he's
His
not going
legs
to
are
run for a
fresh.
5th week. Yeah. I mean, if I were, I keep saying with Justin Fields, like, this has got to be the week that he
Right.
sees that
Everybody
he
that
has
has
to
him on a
run.
fantasy team is saying this has to be the week.
And then what does he do this last week? He throws where he could have, I'm sure he could have run. But I mean, if you're going to throw for it, then even better. So the most likely trend with Justin Fields is he's gonna more flop than not tonight as a passer, but Washington's really not good in pass defense either, but better than the Bears. And he's not going to run because he hasn't been running. I don't know why. His career is going to be hanging on it that he does it, but that's been true for the last couple weeks, and he ain't running. They don't even try. They don't even have designed run plays for him.
Right.
If I was the
Yeah.
offensive
Keep
coordinator,
thinking
I'd
they're
be
going to
like,
break it out. I don't know what
"Eh,
that is. If it's maybe just fear of him getting hurt for some reason. But
everything
so
that we
if he
say."
looks to throw, DJ Moore obviously finally gotten his ear, getting a lot of targets. Yeah, Mooney, Claypool is
Out.
scratched again. I don't know what they're trying to do, but then maybe they'll send him to Carolina as a player to be named later for that Moore trade. But that was my attempt. You
I
have
think he's going to
Mooney,
wind
you
up on the
have
Chiefs.
DJ Moore. Let me think of who else. There's another receiver that appeared. I'll let you do it. You're the guy that knows the film, but receiving wise, is there any reason DJ Moore is not going to get peppered with?
Yeah, throw out the Denver game where there was, more going around for Komet and Mooney had 3 or 4 catches. Just throw it out. And the normal trend for Justin Fields is he's going to throw everything to DJ Moore. That's the way you got to play it. That doesn't mean that Mooney, who I think is fantastic and completely underrated And I hope that the Bears lose and trade Mooney to the Chiefs so he can go be their number one wide receiver. But it could be that Chase Claypool is cut and winds up in Kansas City. But all that aside, uh, the heavy trend is when he's in trouble, when he's not in trouble, whatever Justin Fields is doing, he's trying to throw it to DJ Moore. So I don't see any value really in any of the other guys heavily. I mean, Mooney can catch a touchdown pass with the best of them. Komet can be open as he was last week. I mean, Komet was nothing for 3 weeks, and then all of a sudden he's the greatest tight end in the history of football again because it's Denver. So if
I
you
don't
throw it
know
at
if it's that to that extreme, but
if
he did
you
well.
if you throw that out, and just because he's from Stanford, you don't have to. Or no, he's Notre Dame.
Notre Dame, he's an Irish.
That's right. So I was gonna say there was some
Brandon would be
defense
popping
there.
on here if that was the case.
So the first 3 weeks of the season, there was nothing to commit than 3 catches for 30 yards or so. So the Denver game popped them. So you throw out the Denver game and you're back to he's probably going to get 3 for 30, but then you're facing a defense that's been stingy to the tight end for whatever reasons. So I wouldn't be heavy on Komet. Can't be heavy on Mooney. The one wild card in this game for either team, the guy that's starting to trend, the guy that's starting to get words, the guy that's
Does he have a
starting to get
brother?
snaps. No, he does
Oh, it's
not.
not that
He
guy.
may have a brother, but I don't know. It
Oh, I
ain't
mean, a
in the
famous
NFL.
brother on another
Yeah,
team. It's not where
it's
I
not
thought
in
you were
the
going, but go
NFL.
ahead.
And it's going to be the famous brother that he's going to take snaps and touches away from potentially is the rookie Tyler Scott has been trending for the last couple weeks from the talk how good he looks and how much they want to get him involved in the game from not even getting a snap or a touch to 2 weeks ago getting some snaps and then maybe a jet sweep or a
Yeah, so
target
he
to
ran
last
it a
week.
couple times last game, didn't he?
And then last game he ran it a couple times. I
Yeah.
think they want him to be in that Equinemius St. Brown spot. And if this
Yeah, I
game
was
gets out
thinking
of hand,
Aquinius is who I thought you're going to pull
yeah,
out of your hat.
yeah, no. He's always possible for his one catch to be a touchdown. But if this game gets out of hand, let's say if it gets into a track meet or if it needs to be a track meet, maybe the Bears start pushing Tyler Scott into the lineup more.
Come out of Cincinnati or where's he?
Out of Cincinnati.
I remember as fantasy playing college. I thought that's where he might have been. Yeah, I looked at him and then I thought St. Brown. I don't know. He was in flavor, and I saw they're paying a little attention to him, but so I would have. I'll look and see. I ran my 150 earlier just so I had the locked in, but I was waiting for this to see who the darts may be. I'll definitely look and see how much Scott I have in. Definitely, as you said, you can't. I mean, I'm DJ Moore, captain or flex, 100%. I mean, I don't think there's any way he doesn't get involved in scoring somehow, and I don't think it's going to be on the lesser side. I liked Komet until I looked at the stat, and it looks like Washington Goddard, um, uh, the guy that used to be with Goddard that's in Arizona, Ertz, that covered some pretty tough tight ends for the first few games. So
There's
that
some of
made me
that.
think,
Yeah, it's some of they're covering the tight ends, but also some of it is they're getting so beat by wide receivers. Why dish it to the tight ends when you can take big chunks with the wide receivers? So whatever it is, it's definitely the strongest so far statistically defense against the tight end. So I don't know. If someone's going to break that, it will be Fields commit because Fields changes the way defenses play the past. So afraid he's going to run. Like I will say this: if Justin Fields runs the ball 10 or more times, and if you told me that he run the ball 10 or more times, and that 5 or more of them were on purpose, like the defense would stop what they were doing, they would freeze, and then
They'll uncover
Fields
the
likes to
tight
throw
end.
to,
No?
yeah, then all of a sudden commit could be something. So it's tied to Fields. So I would only play commit if I was playing Fields um, at the same time to blow up. Because if Fields blows up, it's going to be because he's running, and then the running makes the defense freeze, and then it's going to be because of the passing that when the defense freezes up and gives him more time to pick over them. But the the Commanders are really bad against the run, and the Bears want to run, and the Bears have been fairly effective running. So I think the Bears are going to try. The Bears are coming out of their meetings going, "We're going to run it down their throats," for two reasons. One, statistically, that's what the statistics say that we should do. We're actually good at this, and they're bad at this. So let's run it at them. Plus, that'll allow us to run the clock and keep our dang defense off the field that's gonna kill us. So I think in in the at the end of things, this is gonna be, or in the first half, this is gonna be the Bears run, 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 and Washington throw, 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 throw. If Washington then gets up by a couple scores, then the Bears have to throw their playbook, their game plan out the window and start letting it rip in the second half.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what they're going to try to establish. I just, again, their defense is so bad. I don't know how, even if they come out and somehow have a long drive and between Herbert and Johnson and score. I mean, Washington, they're going to get back in it, and I think it's going to force them to have to throw, because I don't. Again, I put into the scenario when I was fading what I never said I'd do, the Bears defense. I'm like, I don't know how they shut Washington down. I mean, it's not like Washington's a juggernaut, but they definitely stood toe to toe with Philly, and Philly's defense isn't. I mean, it may not be elite, but it's decent, right? So
Well,
Howell really impressed me.
the Philly pass defense is one of the worst in the league. It's right up there with Denver, Chicago area, or with Chicago area. Denver, you can run and throw all over them, but mostly run. So that's a forerunner of what they did to Philadelphia. That's a better bad pass defense than what the Bears are. The Commanders could come out and throw all over the Eagles, even with their good defensive front pressure. You could throw all over them, and they did. That's what the Bears posed the same issue, the same opportunity, only 10 times worse than what the Eagles are. So this has to be Washington throwing all over the place. The way that the only way that Chicago can prevent that from happening is if they can just run, 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 and grind the ball and run the clock, and it's Fields running, and then it's Herbert running, and then Roshan Johnson pushes the pile, and
How many
it,
yards
it
did Swift have for the Eagles? Did they run against them a lot? I mean, was that most?
uh no, well, I think he had like 50 some odd yards rushing,
Yeah, I mean, and
because
obviously he's as talented as Herbert and or Haybear. How do you say his name?
he's a Herbert.
For Herbert
Washington's
and
good.
Johnson. I know they've talked about getting Johnson more involved, and he's the other guy opposite. He came out of Texas with Bijan, right? They were like the dual backs there. So
Washington's 20th in, or 26th in yards per carry allowed. Their 4 games this year against the run, they gave up 96 yards to Arizona, 122 against Denver, 168 against Buffalo, and 104 against the Eagles.
wow, there's
So
to me, I'm hoping Fields just gets all the rushing yards.
it's he should. I mean, it's the only way. It's the only way they're going to win is if he's part of the rushing attack. Like in a dream scenario, the Bears are thinking this would be great if we started this game with a 10-play drive that chewed up 7 minutes and was uh, 10 to 13 plays long with a lot of third and short conversions on the run. And Fields took 3 or 4 running plays, and Herbert had 5 or 6 or 7, and Roshan Johnson came in and got a couple first downs running the ball on third and short, and we just bully the defense and run the clock is what their dream would be, because that also the Chicago's #1 game plan has to be, please keep our defense off the field. No matter what we do on offense, no matter how great it is, if it's great, the defense is going to blow it. So what are we going to do to keep the defense off the field? So I think they're going to, even when they get down 7 or 14 to nothing, if that were to happen, I think they will still keep running it, or it'll be bubble screens and such with DJ Moore. That's where Tyler Scott can also come into play. Everything's going to be short and safe and sweet until it gets out of hand. Then it's going to force the Bears to come out of their shell.
Awesome. They're asking for the to put this up on the network. They weren't sure if I was recording it with you now or in 15 minutes. Hold on. So I'm letting them know.
Sure.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I want game theory is so much a part of when you do the showdowns. What way, if it goes this way, what way, if it goes that way, could it possibly be? I mean, again, I will be totally blown away if it's like 9-3 or 14-6. I just don't see any way. I mean, Washington, maybe Bears. I'm thinking, of course, I thought this in the Seattle Giants game when Danny Dimes became Danny Pennies, and because it was all, but so it doesn't always work that way. But
Well,
yeah, I think it feels, and I was looking at weather. That's what I was going to look at, and I got a message. I don't think there's any weather issues. It looks like it's nice, right, in Washington.
it was as of yesterday. If something's changed, I haven't seen it. So I think it's gonna be a nice night there, and we've done multiple Thursday night previews now and Monday night previews, and most every time we've been circling the wagons or been right pinpoint direct at calling the way the flow of the games were going to go. This one, to me, is the most difficult one to make a call on, of all
So
the
you think
ones that
there's a
we've
chance
done
there's
on
it's
Thursday night,
this?
Monday night this season.
Well, if you play out what you just said, if the Bears can execute efficiency, right, and run, and all of a sudden they slow down Washington, then maybe I don't. The Bears defense has to show up for that to happen. Maybe they take, 7 minutes off the clock in the first quarter, but Washington scores in 2 minutes.
Or
I mean,
or a fluke thing happens, Washington turns the ball over, and then Chicago gets it back, and then they grind out another um, run game,
drive.
short pass
Yeah.
game, and all of a sudden the first quarter ends and it's 7 or 10 to nothing. Now Washington has to get a little worried, and it maybe makes the pass defense of the Bears drop back and keep things in front of them more because they got a little bit of a cushion to play with, and they're tired of getting burned. Um, so I just to me, this one has so many different ranges of possibilities, and then factor in if the Bears lose this game, they're everybody's getting fired, I think, because they've got 10 days.
Everybody's
They
getting
got 10
fired.
they got 10 days in between to make the
Oh, is
adjustments.
that what it is? Oh, yeah.
So I think if they do lose this game, they will fire Matt Eberflus. It's just they've lost what 13, 14 in a row. They're so under fire. They're gonna have to fire that. I mean, he's dead anyway. They might as well just go ahead and pull the trigger. Um, then so that pressure is on. So whatever they've got, they have got to win this game. They're gonna do whatever they can to win this game. That's why I'm surprised it's not calling for Justin Fields to run the ball. I'd be like, okay, play 1, 2, and 3 of this game. It's gonna be one's gonna be a Fields sweep, the other one's gonna be a Fields run up the middle, the other one's gonna be a draw. Like I am doing everything I can to get my best player um, the ball in his hands because it's the only way we're going to win. But I thought that for the last 2 weeks, and they still NFL head coaches don't, by and large, don't think in those terms. They think in terms of this is my playbook, this is what we've been practicing. It works like a charm in practice when nobody's tackling each other. I don't know why it's not working in the games. These guys got to try harder. So I keep thinking they've got to throw the kitchen sink out there, but this is multiple weeks and they're not doing anything different than they always do. They just
Well, I
got
think
lucky
if
enough to
they,
play Denver last week.
if Fields is able to do that, then to me, DJ Moore is gonna get open, and then they're just gonna, I mean, if they keep creeping up and creeping up, then Moore's gonna fly by them, and same way with Mooney. Mooney may be I think everybody's thinking DJ, and Mooney may end up, he could go to the house twice because everybody's thinking in what little secondary, so I agree. Before we wrap it up, any darts? You mentioned a few, but if there was gonna be somebody that had a chance to get in the house, maybe get it, as we've witnessed a couple receptions, or um, I don't know if there's, I mean, running back wise, I think there's the two that we talked about on both sides. I don't see that being, I think there's going to be a dart, it's going to be a wide receiver or tight end that maybe people, we talked about Scott, you think he's someone that you would look into placing there that nobody else is really looking at that could factor into making a difference? Anybody we're missing there?
Tyler Scott on the Bears side, De'Ami Brown on the Washington side
Scott and Brown.
are the backups way out there that seem to be trending a little bit in the right or have a cause to do something in this game. But Equanimous St. Brown, Byron Pringle, Bates, the tight end, I mean, they're all going to be in the game. So they can randomly catch a touchdown pass for sure. But if I'm trying to pull one from way out in the back pocket, it would be Tyler Scott for this game, who may play 3 snaps and get 1 touch and it be a miserable experience. But there's been just too many words the last couple weeks about Tyler Scott, starting with when Chase Claypool was having his problems. There was a big call of everybody going, why aren't we putting Tyler Scott in? He's when he's out there, he's pass blocking. He looks strong in practices. So I think part of the Chase Brown or Chase Claypool change was thought to be is going to open up more for Tyler Scott. It's been very slow in coming week 3 and week 4. So this might be the week where he gets his most snaps, plays maybe half the game with St. Brown. And Scott's somebody they will try to get the ball to on purpose. They don't try to get the ball on purpose to Equanimous St. Brown. It happens once a game, at best, no matter what Fields is doing. Equanimous St. Brown, no matter who they're playing, what wide receivers are active, he's going to get 1 catch. So you better make it good. Tyler Scott is somebody they can do some things with, especially if they're going to try to keep the passing game short and sweet.
I like it. I was gonna look here while I have you to see what percentage so I can adjust lineups. Let's see.
I guess if the Commanders blow out, I mean, if this gets all, I don't see the reverse happening where the Bears get up so big that it causes it. But if Washington gets up so big, um, if Chris Rodriguez is active, that means he's over his sickness. He had the flu or something. If Chris Rodriguez is over his illness and he is active and Derek Gore is not, and this game gets out of hand, then in the fourth quarter, it'll be Chris Rodriguez getting touches that he needs as a rookie to just be ready for the future. So there's a scenario within here that either Chris Rodriguez or Derek Gore, depending on which one is active and which one is not,
Rodriguez is
has
Kentucky. Is
something.
that where he came out of?
Yeah, and he's really good.
He was a guy, they had another running back, Smoke. I don't know if he's still there. He came into the pros, but
I
I
think he
remember
came
the
into the pros
combination.
and went out of the pros pretty fast. Or I might be thinking of the guy from Auburn with that.
Well, RC, thank you. Appreciate it. This is going to be up on our Sportstopia HQ channel here real fast. We're turning them around. So, but I mean, everybody watching it, they've already found it. So I guess I don't need to tell them where to find it, but much appreciated. I'm going to insert some Scott and some Brown into my lineups and be texting you when they house, when Scott takes a jet sweep in and then catches a 60-yard to the house, and everybody else is looking around going, why didn't we play that guy? And we'll say, because you didn't watch our podcast, right?
Well, and I'll be looking forward to my every Thursday night text from you around midnight or so.
Yeah.
Holy crap. Just finished first place in the $1 million contest. And then my heart starts to about explode. Then I see, oh yeah, with 70 other people or 100 other
Hey, that's
people.
better. Yeah, I'll
And
take
then
it.
my heart goes from racing too fast to sunk into my pit of my stomach going, it's like it's like they broke into my house and stole your money.
No, I mean, I don't, my goal is to win two, and I placed first in two, but tied. But I mean, I don't want to sound greedy, because when I end up winning solo, then that means everybody else had to get second. But I would love to experience that. Tonight it's just $500,000, but I mean, that's still,
Yeah, I'll take it off your hands if if it's too much of a burden for you to
like,
carry around.
and we're gonna have Scott lead us to that to that promised land.
That'll be
Thank
the
you. I
way to do it.
appreciate you. You can find RC, as we said before, ffmetrics.com. What's your Twitter handle? It's the same, or ffmetrics, or
FF Metrics. Yep. For the website.com, you can get there, or fantasyfootballmetrics.com. But social media, FF Metrics, shortened for everybody
I did
find
read
us.
a little bit on your Twitter that you're kind of jumping on that Breesy Hall wagon this weekend. So we won't get into a lot.
All the way the hell in on the Jets against the Broncos.
Oh, come
I
on,
will say
Denver, the
this.
steel, isn't that the second coming of the steel curtain?
I think steal as in STEAL. I am going to steal money in broad daylight. If the Jets, I think the bet of the year
Oh, you're not.
is the
I didn't read the
Jets.
whole article. It's not Wilson to Wilson and Breesy Hall going into
Oh,
Denver. That
it's
you got
all
to
of it.
remember the altitude. Is that in Denver?
You got to remember the altitude. You got to remember that the Jets are coming off of feeling like they got screwed by the refs, of which they kind of did on their Sunday night game.
According
But
to the
also
coach, I never thought we were going to witness a guy have a stroke when his neck, his blood vessels in his neck were bulging, and he was like, I'm like, this guy's going to lose it, right?
and he should be, because that's a shame. They could have really turned their season around right there. But they're going to turn it around this week. So you got the emotion of that. You got the emotion now of, holy crap, Zach Wilson is actually really good. We've got a chance in this playoffs, in this division, in this everything. So you take those two emotions, then you add the third emotion of Sean Payton shooting off his mouth in the summer about Nathaniel Hackett and really saying things he shouldn't have been saying. You throw that in, I mean, you got the most combustible. I can't wait to watch that game. I hope the Jets
You know what? You
I
got
hope the
me.
Jets score 71 points in that game.
I'm gonna. You have me so fired up. Half my Millie Makers on the main slate Sunday. It's gonna be those three, the three-headed monster, Wilson, and Breesy.
And
I just,
Conklin.
I don't even have to watch it. I'll just wait for
Yeah.
DraftKings to give me an alert saying,
I'm gonna wait for
you took
Brinks
$1
to
million.
show up and make a delivery. Just tip their
you and I and
flat
Brandon are going to Catalina. We'll go after tonight's celebration and we'll stay there longer because of Sunday.
Then the opposite will be if the Jets lay an egg and lose that game, I will come on Monday night preview with my GoFundMe site all set up because they're going to take everything I own
GoFundMe,
because
I'm
I bet
sorry,
it all on the
I
Jets.
thought the Jets were coming back, but all good. Hey, we gave a little bit of a, you know, some value plays there. I thought I'd add that. You can follow more on that adventure on Twitter at FF Metrics. So thank you, RC. Appreciate you. I'm going to get this downloaded so it's live and people can are live to be watched on recording, and we are going to be live someday soon. They're talking about that, so then we'll be able to field all the anti-Jet comments in the chat section saying, what are you talking about? That's all part of the fun. Thank you. You have a great rest of your day.
All right,
Let's
good
do
luck
it.
to you, good and lesser good luck to everybody else, but Mason, good luck to you so you can win this thing all by yourself. Let everybody else finish second, third, and fourth.
You know what? I kind of couldn't agree with you more. Have a great afternoon.